Have you ever sat quietly in a room, perhaps resting your hand upon a wooden table, and felt the absolute certainty of the solid world beneath your fingers? You press down, and the table pushes back. It is a sensation so fundamental, so deeply woven into our everyday human experience, that we never pause to question it. We move through a world of objects. We feel the hard earth beneath our feet, the cool glass of a window pane, the comforting weight of a blanket in the deep silence of the night. But what if I told you that this sensation of solidity is one of the most beautiful and persistent illusions ever created by the cosmos? What if the reality you navigate every single day is fundamentally entirely different from what your senses report? The truth of our existence, the absolute scientific reality of the matter that makes up your body and everything around you, is far stranger and far more deeply poetic than our intuition could ever suggest. We are about to embark on a gentle journey into a realm where our everyday rules no longer apply. We are going to explore the quantum law of reality, descending into the microscopic depths of the universe, where the solid world dissolves into a shimmering dance of probabilities and vast, echoing emptiness. Before we step further into this quiet journey of discovery, I want to take a brief moment to welcome you. I am Walter, the explorer, and together we navigate the profound mysteries of our vast cosmos, seeking peace and understanding in the spaces between the stars and within the atoms. I have noticed that roughly 73% of the wonderful souls who join us on these contemplative voyages have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find comfort and curiosity in these explorations, I gently invite you to subscribe. It helps our community grow immensely and ensures that we can continue to share these quiet journeys into the unknown together. Now, let us return to the mystery resting right at your fingertips. Imagine, if you will, shrinking down. Imagine leaving behind the familiar scale of meters and millimeters, descending into a microscopic world that borders on the unimaginable. If you were to look closely at that wooden table, you would first see the intricate landscape of wood fibers, a forest of cellulose built by sunlight and water over decades. But we must go deeper. Beneath the cellular structures, beneath the long chain molecules, we finally arrive at the fundamental building blocks of ordinary matter. We arrive at the atoms. For a very long time, humanity believed that atoms were indivisible, solid little spheres, much like impossibly tiny billiard balls stacking together to build the universe. The very word atom comes from the ancient Greek word atomos, which simply means uncuttable. It was a comforting thought, a universe built of solid, dependable little bricks. But as the 20th century dawned, scientists like Ernest Rutherford began to peel back the veil of reality, and what they found completely shattered our understanding of the physical world. Rutherford fired tiny, positively charged particles at an unbelievably thin sheet of gold foil. If atoms were solid, these particles should have bounced back, or at least been significantly deflected by a dense wall of matter. Instead, almost all of them passed straight through the gold foil, as if there was absolutely nothing there. It was, in Rutherford's own words, as incredible as if you had fired a 15-inch naval shell at a piece of tissue paper and it came back and hit you. This delicate experiment revealed a profound and counterintuitive truth about the cosmos. The atom is not a solid sphere. It is, in fact, almost entirely empty space. To truly grasp the scale of this emptiness, we must stretch our imagination to its very limits. Let us visualize an atom, perhaps a single atom of carbon that currently resides within your skin. If you were to enlarge this single atom until its outer edges were the size of a massive professional sports stadium, a stadium capable of holding 100,000 people, you might expect to see a massive core at its center. But you would be mistaken. If the entire atom were the size of that colossal stadium, the nucleus, the dense heart of the atom containing nearly all of its mass, would be no larger than a tiny little pea resting quietly right on the center mark of the playing field. The electrons, the ghostly little particles that form the outer boundary of the atom, would be smaller than grains of dust, flying around the very highest seats in the grandstands at speeds that defy human comprehension. And what exists between that pea-sized nucleus and those dust-sized electrons? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It is a profound, silent void. This means that matter, the stuff that makes up the mountains, the oceans, the distant stars, and your own beating heart, is roughly 99.9999999% empty space. When you look at your hand, you are looking at a localized concentration of nothingness, bound together by invisible forces. The great astronomer Carl Sagan once beautifully observed that the cosmos is within us, that we are made of star stuff. But we must also realize that we are made of the same echoing emptiness that stretches between the galaxies. This revelation naturally brings us to a beautiful paradox. If everything is mostly empty space, if your hand is just a ghost of particles dancing in a void, and the table is an equally empty ghost, why does the table feel solid? Why does your hand not simply pass right through the wood, like wind through the bare branches of a winter tree? The answer lies not in physical matter, but in energy. It lies in the invisible fields of force that govern the quantum realm. The electrons that whirl around the nucleus of an atom carry a negative electrical charge. As your hand approaches the table, the electrons in the atoms of your skin come closer and closer to the electrons in the atoms of the wood. Because like charges repel each other, a profound unseen resistance begins to build. The sensation you interpret as touch, the feeling of absolute solidity, is actually the fierce, silent repulsion of microscopic magnetic fields. You have never actually touched anything in your entire life. When you hold the hand of a loved one, when you feel the soft fur of a sleeping animal, or when your feet press into the warm sand of a quiet beach, the atoms of your body are not truly making physical contact with the atoms of those objects. There is always a tiny, imperceptible gap, a microscopic canyon of empty space where electromagnetic forces are pushing back against you. You are, quite literally, hovering just a fraction of a nanometer above the surface of the world, supported by a cushion of quantum repulsion. When we fully absorb this scientific reality, the world around us begins to transform. The heavy, burdensome solidity of our daily lives is revealed to be a magnificent cosmic illusion, a trick played upon our human senses by the fundamental laws of nature. It challenges us to look beyond the surface of things, to question the immediate assumptions we make about reality. There is a deep, comforting peace to be found in this realization. The next time you feel overwhelmed by the heavy solidity of the world, by the immovable obstacles in your path, remember the quiet truth of the quantum realm. Remember that everything around you is a delicate, vibrating dance of energy suspended in a vast and ancient emptiness. You are not a dense, heavy object trapped in a rigid universe. You are a luminous collection of ancient stardust, woven together by invisible forces, floating gently through the cosmos. This realization does not diminish the beauty of our human experience. Rather, it elevates it, transforming our everyday existence into a continuous, waking miracle. To know that the universe manages to build the staggering complexity of a living, breathing, dreaming human being out of almost entirely empty space is to witness the ultimate artistry of the cosmos. This is only the very beginning of our descent into the quantum nature of reality. We have only just begun to scratch the surface of the illusions that govern our lives. As we continue this contemplative journey, we will journey even deeper into the mysteries of light, time, and the strange interconnected fabric of the universe itself, where particles can exist in multiple places at once, and reality only takes shape when we look at it. Have you ever placed a familiar object, perhaps a favorite book or a simple cup of warm tea, upon a wooden desk and walked away, feeling completely certain that it would remain exactly where you left it? We build our entire lives around this quiet assumption of permanence and location. We believe, with every fiber of our being, that the physical world possesses a fixed, independent reality, a state of being that continues undisturbed whether we are looking at it or not. The moon, as Albert Einstein famously pondered, continues to exist even when we close our eyes. It orbits our Earth, silent and ancient, guided by the invisible hand of gravity through the vast and empty dark. This classical view of the cosmos is deeply comforting. It provides a stable foundation for our everyday human experience. But, as we continue our gentle journey into the microscopic depths of the universe, this comforting certainty begins to slip through our fingers like fine, dry sand. When we descend into the quantum realm, the very concept of a fixed location dissolves into a mesmerizing mist of pure probability. The universe, it turns out, is not a rigid clockwork machine ticking away in the darkness. It is a dynamic, interactive canvas, and the act of observation itself is the brush that paints reality into existence. Before we look at the beautiful experiment that proves this counterintuitive truth, I want to gently remind you that I am Walter, the explorer. We are navigating these profound cosmic mysteries together, and I have recently noticed that 73% of the wonderful people who watch these quiet videos have not subscribed yet. If you are finding peace and wonder in our shared journey, please consider subscribing to the channel. It helps us immensely and ensures we can continue to explore the vast cosmos as a community. Now, let us turn our attention to one of the most baffling scientific experiments ever conceived by the human mind. It is known as the double-slit experiment, and it reveals a truth so strange that even the most brilliant physicists of the 20th century struggled to accept it. Imagine a quiet, darkened room. In the center of this room sits a delicate instrument designed to emit particles of light, which scientists call photons. These photons are the fundamental, indivisible units of illumination. Tiny packets of pure energy traveling at the ultimate speed limit of the universe, roughly 300,000 kilometers per second. In front of this emitter, we place a solid barrier, a thin wall pierced by two incredibly narrow parallel slits. And beyond this barrier, we place a sensitive screen, a quiet canvas waiting to record the arrival of each individual photon. If photons were simply tiny, solid projectiles, like microscopic marbles, we would expect them to travel in straight lines. We would expect them to pass through one slit or the other and strike the screen behind, forming two distinct bands of light, directly mirroring the two slits in the barrier. This is exactly what common sense tells us should happen. It is the logic of the macroscopic world, the world we navigate every single day. But the quantum world does not care for our everyday logic. When scientists perform this delicate experiment, firing photons one single particle at a time, something utterly miraculous occurs. As the photons travel through the darkness, they do not behave like solid little marbles. Instead, they behave like ripples spreading across the surface of a quiet, moonlit pond. A single photon, a single indivisible packet of light, somehow spreads out and passes through both slits simultaneously. It is an idea that fundamentally breaks our understanding of reality. How can one thing be in two places at once? As the wave of probability passes through both slits, it divides and recombines, the crests and troughs of the waves interfering with each other. Where the waves amplify each other, they create bright bands on the screen. Where they cancel each other out, they leave bands of pure, untouched darkness. Over time, as thousands of individual photons are fired one by one, a beautiful, repeating pattern of light and dark bands emerges on the screen. This is an interference pattern, the undeniable signature of a wave. The single photon has interfered with itself. Before it strikes the screen, the photon does not possess a single fixed location. It exists in a state of quantum superposition. It is, quite literally, everywhere it could possibly be, a vast, shimmering ocean of pure potential, waiting in the silence of the quantum void. This is where the mystery deepens into something truly profound. The scientists, driven by a natural human curiosity, decide they want to know exactly which slit the individual photon passes through. They want to catch the universe in the act. So, they place a highly sensitive detector right next to the slits, a tiny technological eye designed to watch the photons as they pass. They fire the photons again, one by one. The detector quietly records the passage of each particle, noting with perfect scientific precision whether it went through the left slit or the right slit. But the moment they introduce this detector, the moment they observe the path of the photon, the magical interference pattern on the screen completely vanishes. It simply disappears. Instead of a beautiful, undulating wave pattern, the screen now shows only two distinct, boring bands of light, exactly as if the photons were solid little marbles all along. The very act of looking, the mere presence of an observer seeking information, has fundamentally altered the physical behavior of the light. The shimmering wave of probability has instantly collapsed into a single, definite reality. The photon, realizing it is being watched, stops behaving like a wave of infinite possibilities and chooses a single, fixed path. This phenomenon, known as the observer effect, is not merely a quirk of laboratory equipment. It is a fundamental law woven into the very fabric of the cosmos. It tells us that at the deepest levels of reality, the universe remains in a state of undefined potential until it interacts with an observing system. The great physicist Erwin Schrödinger tried to illustrate the absurdity of this concept with a famous thought experiment involving a cat in a sealed box, existing in a simultaneous state of being both alive and not alive until the box is opened and the observation is made. While a cat is a macroscopic object and does not truly exist in such a quantum blur, the fundamental particles that make up the cat, the atoms and electrons that form its body, absolutely do obey these strange, counterintuitive rules. The world is not a stage where objects perform their independent dances, regardless of whether an audience is present. The stage, the dancers, and the audience are all intimately connected. The universe requires observation, interaction, and physical relationship to manifest from a sea of ghostly probabilities into the solid, tangible reality we experience. Think about the staggering implications of this quantum truth. It means that the ancient, quiet cosmos is not entirely separate from you. You are not merely a passive witness to the unfolding history of the universe. You are an active participant in its physical manifestation. When space agencies like the National Aeronautics and Space Administration and the European Space Agency point their magnificent technological triumphs, like the James Webb Space Telescope, toward the deepest and oldest regions of the observable universe, they are not simply recording light that has been traveling unchanged for over 13 billion years. The very act of those ancient photons interacting with the beryllium mirrors and sensitive infrared detectors of the telescope collapses their quantum states, finalizing a journey that began near the dawn of time. The universe is a vast, interconnected web of relationships, a delicate and infinitely complex dance where nothing truly exists in absolute isolation. The silent, frozen vacuum of deep space and the warm, beating heart within your chest are governed by the exact same bizarre rules of quantum probability. There is a profound, almost meditative peace to be found in this realization. In our daily lives, we often feel trapped by circumstances, locked into rigid paths, and defined by solid, unyielding facts. We carry the heavy burden of a fixed identity and a predetermined future. But the quantum law of reality gently whispers a different story. It tells us that beneath the illusion of solidity, at the very core of your physical being, you are composed of infinite possibilities. You are made of particles that refuse to be pinned down, elements that exist in a state of dynamic, shimmering potential. The rigid walls of your reality are not as solid as they appear. They are held together by the way you choose to observe them, by the relationships you form with the world around you. When you feel stuck, when the weight of the macroscopic world feels too heavy to bear, I invite you to remember the double-slit experiment. Remember the single photon, traveling alone through the dark, holding within itself the potential to be everywhere at once. This journey into the quantum realm requires a gentle humility. We must be willing to let go of our absolute certainty, to surrender our need for a universe that operates like a simple, predictable machine. We must embrace the mystery. The greatest minds in the history of science spent their entire lives grappling with these profound contradictions, often finding themselves humbled by the sheer, staggering beauty of a universe that defies human logic. They realized that the more we learn about the cosmos, the more we discover how much of it remains hidden in the quiet shadows of the unknown. Science is not simply a catalogue of rigid facts. It is an endless, contemplative exploration of the deep mysteries that surround us. It is a continuous journey of asking questions, of peering into the dark, and of being utterly amazed by the answers the universe provides. As we sit here in the quiet reflection of these cosmic truths, we can begin to see our own lives through a different, much softer lens. The universe is not a chaotic, uncaring void. It is a reality that responds to presence, a cosmos that literally takes shape through interaction and connection. Your observation, your awareness, is a fundamental component of the physical world. You are a localized point of consciousness within a vast, infinite sea of potential, pulling reality into focus just by being here, just by opening your eyes and experiencing the wonder of existence. We are the universe experiencing itself, a beautiful and ancient truth that scientists and poets alike have whispered for centuries. the illusion of separation. The feeling that you are a solitary observer looking out at a cold and distant world is just that, an illusion. You are deeply, fundamentally woven into the very fabric of everything that is. Let this knowledge wash over you like a gentle, calming tide. There is no need to fight the strange and counterintuitive nature of the quantum world. Instead, allow it to free you from the constraints of absolute certainty. Allow it to introduce a quiet, spacious wonder into your everyday experience. The next time you look up at the night sky, or simply watch the dust motes dancing in a shaft of afternoon sunlight, remember the invisible, shimmering waves of probability that underpin it all. Remember that the world is far more magical, far more mysterious, and far more deeply connected than our human senses could ever perceive. The journey of understanding the universe is infinite, and we have only just begun to explore the hidden depths of reality. In our next chapter, we will continue this contemplative descent, turning our gaze toward the strange and beautiful illusion of time itself, exploring how the past, present, and future might not be exactly what we have always believed them to be. But for now, simply rest in the quiet knowledge of your own infinite potential, suspended in the gentle mystery of the cosmos. Have you ever noticed how the strange, invisible river of time seems to play tricks upon your human mind? A single afternoon spent waiting in an empty room can stretch into a heavy, unyielding eternity, while a beautiful evening spent in the warm, comforting company of a cherished friend vanishes into the silence of memory in what feels like a mere fraction of a second. We structure our entire human existence around the steady, relentless, mechanical ticking of a clock. We divide our brief lives into the immutable past, the fleeting present, and the unknown, shadowy future. We believe, with every single beat of our living hearts, that time is a universal constant, a rigid arrow flying in only one direction, carrying everything in the cosmos forward at exactly the same pace. We feel that the past is entirely gone, turned to dust and memory, and that the future does not yet exist. But what if this deeply ingrained perception is one of the most magnificent illusions ever painted by the universe? What if the past is not gone at all? The future is already quietly resting in the dark, and the present moment is simply the narrow subjective lens through which our consciousness chooses to view a vast, frozen landscape of infinite existence. Before we begin to unravel the rigid fabric of hours and minutes, I want to take a brief, quiet moment to welcome you. I am Walter, the Explorer, and together we embark on these meditative journeys into the deepest mysteries of the universe, finding a profound sense of peace and understanding in the vastness of scientific truth. I have recently noticed that roughly 73% of the wonderful, curious souls who join us on these voyages and find comfort in these videos have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you feel a sense of calm, intellectual safety, and wonder while listening to our shared explorations, I gently invite you to subscribe. It helps our quiet community grow immensely and ensures that we can continue to wander through the ancient cosmos together, uncovering the hidden beauty of reality. Now, let us return to the strange, beautiful, and fluid nature of time. For centuries, humanity operated under the comforting assumption established by brilliant classical minds who described time as a rigid, absolute background stage, upon which all the events of the universe played out in perfect synchronization. A single second passing here on Earth was assumed to be exactly the same as a single second passing on the farthest, most ancient star at the very edge of the observable universe. It was a comforting, orderly, and highly intuitive view of reality. But in the early years of the 20th century, Albert Einstein completely shattered this absolute clock. Through his magnificent theory of relativity, he revealed that time and space are not separate, rigid entities acting as a mere container for the universe. Instead, they are intimately woven together into a single, flexible, dynamic fabric called space-time. And the most astonishing, mind-bending revelation of this theory was that this cosmic fabric can bend, stretch, and warp under the influence of mass and velocity. Time, it turns out, is not a steady, universal river. It is a highly personal experience, entirely dependent on how fast you are moving through space and how much gravity is pulling upon your physical form. If you were to board a spacecraft and travel through the dark void close to the ultimate speed limit of light, the biological beating of your heart and the firing of your neurons would all slow down relative to someone who remained quietly behind on Earth. This is not a mechanical error of the clock or a mere psychological trick of human perception. It is a fundamental, inescapable physical law of the universe. This strange phenomenon, known as time dilation, is not merely an abstract mathematical theory confined to chalkboards and academic halls. It is a proven, measurable physical reality that modern space agencies, such as the National Aeronautics and Space Administration and the European Space Agency, must account for every single day to keep our modern world functioning. Consider the complex network of global positioning system satellites that are quietly orbiting our blue planet right now, soaring through the cold vacuum of space. Because these satellites are moving at incredibly high speeds, roughly 14,000 kilometers per hour relative to the surface of the Earth, the precise atomic clocks they carry on board actually tick slightly slower than identical atomic clocks resting on the ground. However, because these same satellites are orbiting high above the atmosphere, they are further away from the massive gravitational pull of the Earth. Einstein demonstrated that gravity also warps time. The stronger the gravitational pull, the slower time passes. Because the satellites experience less gravity than we do on the surface, this effect causes their clocks to tick slightly faster. When brilliant engineers calculate the net difference between the slowing effect of their high speed and the speeding effect of lower gravity, they find that the satellite clocks run fast by about 38 microseconds every single day. If scientists did not mathematically correct this microscopic discrepancy continuously, the navigation systems we rely on to guide ships across vast oceans would drift off course by several kilometers within a single afternoon. Let this profound concept settle gently into your mind. Because time is relative to the observer, there is no such thing as a single, universal now that applies to the entire cosmos simultaneously. The now that you are experiencing at this very moment, sitting quietly and listening to my voice, is physically and fundamentally different from the now being experienced by a star, blazing millions of light years away in the deep cosmos. This staggering realization has led many theoretical physicists to embrace a concept known as the block universe. I want you to imagine, if you will, a massive, solid, perfectly clear block of crystal resting in the void. In this geometric model of reality, the entire history of the universe, every single event that has ever happened is happening right now or will ever happen in the infinite future, is frozen within this immense crystal structure. The primordial fire of the Big Bang is located at one edge of the block, and the ultimate cold end of the cosmos lies somewhere at the other. Within this vast, quiet, multidimensional structure, Your entire human life is a solid, continuous line embedded deeply within the crystal. Your birth, your first hesitant steps, the quiet moment you are experiencing right now, and your final peaceful breath all exist simultaneously. They are all equally real, just located at different coordinates within the four-dimensional fabric of space-time. We do not experience our existence this way, of course. Our human consciousness is like a tiny, gentle point of light moving slowly and steadily along that embedded line, illuminating only one extraordinarily thin slice of the crystal at a time. We call that beautifully illuminated slice the present moment. We call the darkness that falls behind the light the past, and we call the unlit, mysterious crystal stretching out ahead of us the future. But the unlit crystal is still absolutely there. The past has not vanished into nothingness. It has not ceased to exist. It is simply located at a coordinate of space-time that your specific point of consciousness has already traversed. The future is not an empty, terrifying void, waiting desperately to be created from nothing. It is already resting quietly in the block, waiting with infinite patience for your gentle light of awareness to reach it. When we truly embrace this scientific perspective, when we allow the sheer scale of the block universe to wash over our daily anxieties, a profound, almost overwhelming sense of peace begins to emerge. The heavy, sorrowful burden of loss that we all carry is gently, softly lifted. When we lose someone we love deeply, our human intuition tells us they are gone forever, swept away into oblivion by the relentless, uncaring river of time. But the rigorous physics of the universe whispers a much softer, much more comforting truth into our ears. They are not gone. The beautiful moments you shared, the shared laughter that echoed in a quiet room, the gentle embraces and the deep conversations. They still exist, perfectly and eternally preserved in their specific coordinates of space-time. They are as real, as permanent, and as indestructible as the distant galaxies shining in the deep cosmic night. You simply cannot see them from your current vantage point along the timeline. The universe is incredibly vast, and its rules are deeply strange, but within that strangeness lies a beauty that can calm the most restless mind. We have explored the illusions of solidity and the illusions of time, but the cosmos still holds deeper secrets. In our next exploration, we will dive into the invisible threads that connect the universe across unimaginable distances. But for tonight, simply rest in the knowledge that you are a permanent, eternal part of the grand cosmic design, safe within the quiet embrace of space-time. Have you ever found yourself sitting quietly near a window, looking out at the vast, silent stretch of the night sky, and felt a sudden, inexplicable connection to someone who is impossibly far away? Perhaps they are across a wide, dark ocean, or perhaps they have passed on into the ancient silence of memory. In our daily human experience, we are deeply conditioned to believe that physical distance is an absolute barrier. We measure the space between us in miles and kilometers, believing that separation is a fundamental, unavoidable rule of reality. If two objects are far apart, they cannot possibly influence one another without sending a signal, a word, or a beam of light across the vast, empty gulf that divides them. This is the intuitive, mechanical logic that governs our macroscopic world. But as we continue our gentle descent into the microscopic heart of the cosmos, we are about to discover that the universe hides a breathtaking secret. We are about to learn that space, much like the solidity of your wooden desk and the ticking of your clock, might be yet another magnificent illusion. At the deepest levels of reality, the cosmos is held together by invisible, instantaneous threads of connection, a phenomenon so baffling and so beautiful that it completely defies our human understanding of separation. Before we step further into this profound cosmic mystery, I want to take a moment to gently welcome you. I am Walter, the explorer, and together we embark on these quiet, meditative journeys through the wonders of the universe, finding peace in the infinite. I have noticed that roughly 73% of the wonderful people who watch these videos and share in this quiet contemplation have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find comfort, intellectual safety, and a sense of belonging in our shared explorations, I gently invite you to subscribe. It helps our community grow immensely and ensures that we can continue to unravel the beautiful mysteries of the cosmos together. Now, let us return to the invisible threads that weave the universe into a single, breathtaking tapestry. Let us journey back to the early 20th century, a time of profound intellectual upheaval when the greatest minds in physics were uncovering the strange, counterintuitive laws of the quantum realm. Albert Einstein, a man whose brilliant mind had already reshaped our understanding of gravity and time, found himself deeply unsettled by a specific mathematical prediction emerging from the new quantum mechanics. The mathematics suggested that two particles, if created together or interacting in a very specific way, could become intimately linked. They would become so deeply connected that they would no longer possess separate, independent physical states. Instead, they would share a single, unified existence, regardless of how far apart they were later separated. If you were to take one of these entangled particles and keep it here on Earth, and send its partner billions of light years away to the very edge of the observable universe, the mathematical equations insisted that they would remain a single system. If you observed the particle on Earth, measuring its quantum properties, the distant particle would instantly, in zero time, assume a corresponding state. Einstein, deeply committed to the idea that nothing could travel faster than the speed of light, famously rebelled against this concept. He called it spooky action at a distance, believing that the quantum theory must simply be incomplete. He argued that the particles must carry some hidden internal blueprint, a secret set of instructions created at the moment of their entanglement that told them how to behave when measured. The idea that the universe could instantly coordinate the physical reality of two objects separated by vast, unbridgeable cosmic oceans seemed too absurd, too magical to be true. It challenged the very foundation of cause and effect. For decades, this debate remained a philosophical argument, a beautiful puzzle pondered in the quiet halls of academia, because no one knew how to test it. But the universe, in all its infinite wonder, is far stranger than even Einstein's intuition could grasp. In the latter half of the 20th century, and continuing into our modern era with staggering precision, scientists devised ingenious experiments to finally test this spooky action. They created pairs of entangled photons, delicate packets of light, and sent them hurtling in opposite directions. When they measured the state of one photon, they found that its distant partner instantaneously reacted, aligning perfectly with the laws of quantum mechanics. There were no hidden blueprints. There was no secret signal passing between them. The connection was immediate, transcending the physical limits of space and time. Recently, scientists working with advanced space agencies have even beamed entangled particles from satellites orbiting high above the Earth down to ground stations thousands of kilometers apart, proving that this invisible quantum connection holds true even across the cold, silent vacuum of space. The European Space Agency and other brilliant international teams continue to push these boundaries, demonstrating that quantum entanglement is not a mathematical error, but a fundamental, undeniable property of nature. How can we possibly reconcile our everyday experience of distance with a universe that allows instantaneous connection across infinite gulfs? The answer requires a profound shift in our perspective, a gentle humbling of our human common sense. We must realize that space itself is not what we think it is. Space is not an empty, absolute container that separates things. It is, perhaps, an emergent property of the universe, a construct created by the relationships between particles. When two particles are entangled, they do not need to send a signal through space to communicate, because, in the deep mathematical architecture of the cosmos, they are not actually separated at all. They are two manifestations of the exact same physical entity, existing simultaneously in two different locations. The illusion is not the connection, the illusion is the distance. This brings us to a contemplation so beautiful, so incredibly profound, that it has the power to permanently transform how we view ourselves and our place in the quiet cosmos. Consider the very beginning of everything. Consider the Big Bang. Nearly 14 billion years ago, the entire observable universe, all the matter, all the energy, all the space, and all the time, was compressed into an unimaginably dense, infinitely small singularity. Every single atom that currently makes up your human body, the oxygen in your lungs, the carbon in your bones, the iron flowing through your blood, was intimately packed together with the atoms that now make up the swirling storms of Jupiter, the luminous heart of the Andromeda Galaxy, and the most distant ancient quasars glowing in the deep cosmic night. At the moment of creation, everything was touching. Everything was one. If the laws of quantum mechanics hold true on this grand cosmic scale, then the implications are staggering. Because everything in the universe was born together from that single primordial spark, it is entirely possible that the fundamental particles making up your physical form are still, at some deep, invisible quantum level, entangled with particles scattered across the vast, expanding universe. The legendary astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson often reminds us that we are biologically connected to every other living thing in the world, and chemically connected to all molecules on Earth, but we are atomically connected to all atoms in the universe. We are not just figuratively part of the universe. We are literally, physically, and permanently bound to it by the invisible, ancient threads of quantum entanglement. The quiet, glowing stars you look up at in the night sky are not distant, disconnected fires. They are your cosmic siblings, born from the exact same fiery womb, sharing an unspoken, instantaneous bond that space cannot break and time cannot erase. When we allow this magnificent scientific truth to settle gently into our hearts, the heavy, isolating burden of human loneliness begins to lift. The feeling of being small, insignificant, and separated from the world is revealed to be a mere trick of our macroscopic perception. You are never truly alone. The fundamental building blocks of your existence are engaged in an eternal, silent dance with the farthest reaches of the cosmos. Your very presence, the gentle beating of your heart, the quiet electrical storms within your mind, are part of a unified, singular system of reality. The universe is not a scattered collection of lonely, isolated objects drifting aimlessly in the dark void. It is a single, vibrating, interconnected web of energy and potential. You are a unique, precious knot in that infinite net, a focal point where the universe has grown eyes to see itself and a mind to wonder at its own magnificent beauty. As you rest tonight, or as you move through the busy, noisy world tomorrow, try to carry this quiet knowledge with you. When you feel the weight of physical distance, when you miss someone who is far away, remember the spooky action at a distance. Remember that beneath the illusion of space, at the fundamental bedrock of reality, connection is the absolute rule, and separation is the myth. We are held together by forces far deeper and far more beautiful than our human eyes can see. This invisible, quantum embrace is the true nature of the cosmos. Our journey through the strange and wonderful laws of reality is far from over. We have unraveled the solidity of matter, the fluidity of time, and the illusion of separation. In our next exploration, we will turn our gaze toward the strange harmony of chaos, discovering how the inevitable decay of the universe magically gives birth to the most magnificent complexity imaginable. But for now, simply allow yourself to feel the gentle, invisible threads that connect you to everything that is, floating peacefully in the quiet, infinite embrace of the cosmos. Have you ever watched a delicate glass slip from your fingers, falling through the quiet air, only to shatter into 1,000 jagged pieces across the hard floor? In that brief, helpless moment, you witnessed one of the most absolute, unforgiving laws of the cosmos in action. We know, with an innate, quiet certainty, that those shattered fragments will never spontaneously rise from the floor, reassemble themselves into a perfect, flawless glass, and leap back into your waiting hand. We watch the vibrant, colorful autumn leaves wither and fade into the damp earth. We see ancient, towering castles slowly crumble into wind-blown dust over the centuries. Our everyday human experience is deeply defined by this relentless march of decay, the continuous, irreversible fading of order into disorder. We feel the weight of this universal wearing down in our own bodies and in the passing of the years. But before we dive deeper into why the cosmos demands this unraveling, I want to take a gentle moment to welcome you. I am Walter, the explorer, and together we wander through the deepest, most poetic mysteries of our universe. I have noticed that roughly 73% of the wonderful, curious souls who join us on these peaceful journeys have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find comfort and intellectual safety in these quiet, cosmic explorations, I gently invite you to subscribe. It helps our community grow immensely and ensures we can continue to discover the hidden beauty of reality together. Now, let us return to the strange harmony of chaos. What if I told you that this unstoppable cosmic breaking down is not a tragedy, but the fundamental engine that breathes life and breathtaking complexity into our universe? In the rigorous language of physics, this relentless tendency for things to fall apart is known as the second law of thermodynamics. It is the invisible, heavy hand that dictates the arrow of time, insisting that the total entropy, or the measure of disorder within an isolated system, must always increase. Imagine a perfectly organized library, where every single book is meticulously placed on its designated shelf. This is a state of very low entropy and immense structure. But as time passes, people misplace books, and the pristine order inevitably degrades into a chaotic jumble. The universe itself began in an unimaginably special, highly ordered state of incredibly low entropy during the first moments of the Big Bang, nearly 14 billion years ago. Ever since that primordial flash of creation, the cosmos has been continuously shuffling its metaphorical books, expanding and cooling, moving inexorably toward a state of maximum disorder. Scientists refer to this ultimate fate as the heat death of the universe, a time trillions upon trillions of years in the future when all the burning stars will have extinguished, and the cosmos will be nothing but a vast, silent, uniform soup of cold, resting particles. But here lies one of the most beautiful and deeply profound paradoxes in all of science. If the absolute rule of the universe is that order must always decay into chaos, how do we explain the breathtaking, structured majesty of the cosmos that we see right now? When we point the magnificent instruments of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration or the European Space Agency toward the dark void, we do not see a featureless, chaotic mist. We see stunning, intricate spiral galaxies like our own Milky Way, spinning gracefully with hundreds of billions of stars. We see majestic stellar nurseries, like the glorious Orion Nebula, where vast clouds of gas and dust are actively collapsing under the gentle pull of gravity to form brand new, brilliantly shining suns. And, looking closer to home, we see the staggering complexity of the Earth. We see towering redwood trees, intricate coral reefs, and the bustling microscopic cities within every single cell of your body. Your brain alone contains roughly 86 billion neurons, weaving trillions of delicate connections that allow you to think, love, wonder, and understand the very words you are hearing right now. How can such magnificent pockets of order emerge in a universe mandated to fall apart? The secret to this cosmic miracle lies in understanding that the second law of thermodynamics applies strictly to the universe as an entire, closed whole. It demands that the total, overall chaos must increase. But it does not forbid local, temporary pockets of magnificent order from rising up, provided they pay a steep cosmic price. Imagine a quiet, flowing river. The water naturally flows downward, driven by the relentless pull of gravity, seeking the lowest possible state. This downward rush is the unstoppable increase of entropy. But if you place a carefully crafted water wheel into that rushing current, the sheer chaotic energy of the falling water can be briefly captured and transformed. It can spin a mill or generate brilliant electrical light. The local order of the working mill is created and sustained by the overarching chaotic flow of the river. In the grand cosmic picture, complex structures like galaxies, stars, and living, breathing human beings are the universe's water wheels. We are what physicists call dissipative structures. We maintain our highly organized internal order by constantly taking in low entropy energy from our environment, using it to maintain our complex systems, and then exhausting massive amounts of high entropy waste back into the cold void of space. Consider the quiet, glowing star that anchors our solar system. The sun is a colossal nuclear furnace, violently crushing hydrogen atoms together into helium deep within its incredibly dense core. This violent nuclear fusion generates an unimaginable amount of energy, radiating outward across the empty gulf of space in the form of highly structured, low-entropy visible light. When those ancient traveling photons strike the surface of our blue planet, they are captured by the delicate leaves of plants through the miraculous process of photosynthesis. The plants use this pure energy from the sun to stitch simple molecules together into complex sugars, building the very foundation of the global food chain. They create structure and life. But to do this, the Earth must constantly radiate the degraded, leftover energy back out into the freezing darkness of deep space as messy, chaotic, invisible infrared heat. For every single unit of order constructed here on our fragile world, a much greater amount of chaos is dumped into the cosmos. We are allowed to exist only because we are deeply plugged into the universe's ultimate engine of decay. We ride upon the laws of physics like surfers catching a temporary wave on a vast ocean of entropy. When we fully grasp this rigorous scientific reality, it profoundly transforms how we view our fragile existence. We are often taught to fear chaos, to resist the breaking down of things, and to mourn the passing of time. We desperately seek permanence in a universe that fundamentally forbids it. But the deep truths of thermodynamics whisper a far gentler, more liberating perspective. You are an improbable, highly organized pattern of ancient stardust, held together for a brief, glowing moment in the infinite stretch of cosmic time. You are a beautiful rebellion against the dark equilibrium, a spinning water wheel powered by the inevitable burning down of the stars. To be alive is to be an active mechanism of the cosmos, taking in energy and using it to generate thoughts, emotions, and moments of profound connection. The fact that the universe must eventually decay is not a reason for despair. It is the exact physical requirement that makes the beauty of the present moment possible. Without the overarching flow of entropy, nothing could ever happen. The chaos is not the enemy of life. It is the canvas upon which the masterpiece of complexity is painted. Let this quiet understanding wash over your everyday worries. The next time you watch a beautiful sunset melt into the shadows of the night, do not feel a sense of loss. Instead, feel a profound awe for the grand cosmic mechanism that governs us all. Every instance of decay is paying the necessary physical debt for the existence of structure and consciousness itself. You are part of that delicate balance. You are the universe discovering how to organize itself into a mind that can look back up at the stars and wonder at its own temporary nature. There is deep peace in accepting that our existence is a fleeting, beautiful spark in the vast, cooling dark. We do not need to be permanent to be deeply meaningful. As we continue to drift through this meditative journey, we will soon shift our gaze to another pervasive illusion. Having understood the necessity of chaos, we will next venture into the strange reality of the empty void itself, discovering that the absolute nothingness of space is actually boiling with infinite, unseen energy. But for now, simply rest in the comforting knowledge that your beautifully complex life is the cosmos's most exquisite expression of the fundamental laws of nature, held safely in the quiet hands of the universe. Have you ever stepped outside on a perfectly clear, moonless night, far away from the blinding lights of any busy city, and gazed up at the spaces between the stars? We naturally focus on the points of light, the ancient, burning suns scattered across the velvet dark. But what about the vast, sprawling patches of blackness that separate them? Our everyday human experience, shaped by moving through a world filled with solid objects and breathing thick air, tells us that these dark gulfs are places of absolute, unforgiving nothingness. We imagine the vacuum of space as a quiet, frozen, empty stage, a profound absence of matter, energy, and life. We extend this intuitive belief to the microscopic world as well, imagining that the gaps between the atoms in our own bodies are equally silent and void. But what if this concept of true emptiness is yet another gentle illusion played upon our human senses? What if the absolute nothingness you fear, the deep silence of the void, is actually the most vibrant, energetic, and endlessly creative environment in the entire cosmos. We are about to step into the hidden architecture of the universe, discovering that the dark, quiet spaces are not empty at all, but rather a shimmering, boiling ocean of infinite potential, a place where reality itself is constantly being born. Before we dive into this invisible electric ocean, I want to gently welcome you. I am Walter, the explorer, and together we embark on these quiet, meditative journeys into the profound mysteries of reality, seeking peace in the vastness of the ancient cosmos. I have recently noticed that exactly 73% of the wonderful, curious souls who join us on these calming explorations have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find intellectual safety, comfort, and a sense of gentle wonder in our shared time together, I kindly invite you to subscribe. It helps our quiet community grow immensely and ensures that we can continue to wander through these breathtaking cosmic truths side by side. Now, let us return to the mystery of the empty dark. To understand the true nature of the void, we must travel back to the fundamental laws of quantum mechanics, a realm where our macroscopic intuition completely breaks down. In the early 20th century, brilliant theoretical physicists formulated a principle that would forever shatter our concept of absolute certainty. It is known as the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, and it states that there is a fundamental mathematical limit to how precisely we can know certain pairs of physical properties simultaneously. But this principle extends far beyond merely measuring the speed and position of a tiny particle. It also applies deeply to energy and time. It dictates a strange, inescapable law of nature. You can never have a state of absolute zero energy. Even if you were to somehow construct a perfect, impenetrable box, and you miraculously managed to pump out every single atom, every molecule of gas, every stray electron, and block out every single photon of light and all thermal radiation, cooling the interior down to the absolute, freezing zero limit of the universe. The inside of that dark box would still not be empty. It would still not be completely silent. According to the rigorous mathematics of quantum field theory, what we perceive as a pure vacuum is actually a dynamic, frothing sea of invisible activity. Scientists call this the quantum vacuum, and it is governed by constant fluctuations of zero-point energy. Within this seemingly empty space, pairs of particles and antiparticles, ghostly, ephemeral entities known as virtual particles, are constantly popping into existence out of absolute nowhere. They borrow a tiny, microscopic fraction of energy from the very fabric of the cosmos, flash into reality for a span of time so inconceivably brief it defies all human comprehension, and then instantly collide and annihilate each other, returning the borrowed energy safely back to the void. This invisible, eternal dance of creation and destruction is happening everywhere, all the time. It is happening right now in the vast, dark stretches between the distant galaxies, and it is happening right now in the microscopic spaces between the atoms of the very device you are using to hear my voice. The universe is boiling with unseen life, a chaotic symphony of ghostly particles dancing in the dark. This might sound like pure abstract philosophy or mathematical fantasy, but it is a tested, proven physical reality. In the middle of the 20th century, a brilliant physicist named Hendrik Casimir proposed an elegant, almost poetic experiment to prove the existence of this boiling void. He suggested placing two incredibly thin, uncharged, perfectly conducting metallic plates facing each other in a perfect vacuum. If the vacuum were truly empty, nothing should happen. The plates would simply rest there forever in the dark. But because the vacuum is actually filled with waves of virtual particles popping in and out of existence, a miraculous imbalance occurs. The physical space between the two metallic plates is so incredibly narrow that only virtual waves of certain very small wavelengths can successfully fit inside. But on the outside of the plates, in the vast open expanse of the surrounding vacuum, waves of all possible sizes are constantly erupting. Because there are more virtual waves pushing from the outside than from the inside, a measurable physical force is generated, gently but firmly pushing the two metallic plates together. This strange phenomenon, known as the Casimir effect, has been successfully measured in highly advanced laboratories around the world, providing undeniable, rigorous proof that empty space is incredibly heavy with invisible, pushing energy. The implications of this hidden energy are so profound that they literally shape the ultimate physical fate of the entire cosmos. When space agencies like the National Aeronautics and Space Administration and the European Space Agency study the accelerating expansion of the universe, they are confronted with a massive, unseen force that they call dark energy. While the exact, fundamental nature of dark energy remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in all of modern physics, many leading cosmologists believe that it could be deeply connected to the energy of the quantum vacuum itself. As the universe continuously expands, as the distances between the galaxies grow wider and wider over billions of years, more and more empty space is created. And because empty space inherently contains this boiling, quantum zero-point energy, the total amount of this repulsive cosmic energy grows, pushing the fabric of space-time apart at an ever-increasing velocity. The very emptiness of the void is the engine that is driving the ancient galaxies away from one another, stretching the cosmos into infinity. When we allow this magnificent scientific truth to gently settle into our minds, it profoundly transforms how we experience the feeling of emptiness in our own, highly personal human lives. We all experience inevitable moments when we feel drained, exhausted, or hollowed out. We encounter periods of deep, uncomfortable silence, isolation, or times when our creative energy seems to have completely vanished, leaving us feeling like a vast, empty, abandoned room. We are deeply conditioned by our fast-paced society to fear these empty spaces, to rush desperately to fill them with noise, distraction, and constant, relentless activity. We view emptiness as a failure, a lack of substance, a frightening absence of meaning. But the quiet, rigorous laws of quantum mechanics whisper a much softer, much more comforting truth into our anxious minds. They tell us that emptiness is not a deficit. True emptiness does not even exist anywhere in the natural universe. What feels to you like a void is actually a state of pure, resting potential. It is the fertile, highly dynamic ground from which all new things must eventually emerge. Just as the quantum vacuum is constantly boiling with the birth of new, virtual particles, the quiet, empty moments of your life are brimming with invisible, unmanifested possibilities. When you allow yourself to sit quietly in the silence, to rest without doing, you are not doing nothing. You are aligning yourself with the fundamental baseline of the cosmos, dipping your mind into the infinite, resting energy of the universe. The spaces between your thoughts, the quiet moments between your actions, are exactly like the spaces between the stars, rich, ancient, and humming with a gentle, invisible power waiting to take shape. Think about the profound, beautiful humility this perspective requires. We walk through the world believing that only solid matter has value, that only the things we can easily touch, see, and measure truly matter. But the universe is composed almost entirely of this vibrant, energetic dark. The solid matter that makes up your body, your home, the Earth, and all the hundreds of billions of galaxies stretching across the observable universe accounts for less than 5% of what is actually out there. The vast majority of the cosmos is the dark, the invisible, the empty space that is not truly empty at all. You are a tiny, fragile, beautiful island of structured matter floating on an infinite, bottomless ocean of unseen quantum energy. To recognize this is to feel a deep, respectful awe for the unseen forces that quietly sustain our entire reality. It is an invitation to stop fighting the silence and to start trusting the invisible currents that flow endlessly through the dark. As you move through the noisy world tomorrow, or as you close your eyes tonight to rest, try to carry this quiet, expansive knowledge with you. When you encounter a moment of silence, do not rush to fill it. Let the emptiness hold you. Remember that you are safely suspended in a universe where nothing is truly void, where every single cubic millimeter of space is a boiling cauldron of ancient, cosmic potential. You are intimately connected to this unseen energy, a living, breathing manifestation of the universe's infinite capacity to create something beautiful out of the dark. Our journey through the strange and wonderful laws of reality is slowly unfolding, revealing layer after layer of profound connection. In our next quiet exploration, we will turn our gaze toward the very nature of human consciousness, discovering how our minds interpret these quantum signals to construct the vivid, colorful reality we experience every day. But for now, simply allow yourself to float peacefully in the gentle, electric embrace of the quantum void. Have you ever stood quietly at the edge of a serene ocean as the sun dips below the horizon, watching the sky erupt into a brilliant symphony of fiery oranges, deep purples, and soft, glowing pinks? In that breathtaking moment, you feel an absolute, unshakable certainty that those magnificent colors exist exactly as you see them, painted directly onto the canvas of the sky. We trust our eyes completely. We trust the gentle breeze we feel against our skin and the quiet rustle of the leaves we hear in the distance. We navigate our entire lives believing that our human senses are windows, perfectly transparent glass through which we observe a vivid, colorful, and noisy universe, just as it truly is. But what if I told you that this vivid reality is perhaps the most profound and intimate illusion of all? What if, out there, in the ancient and infinite cosmos, there is no color, no sound, and no feeling of warmth? We are about to embark on a deeply personal journey into the very center of your own mind, discovering the staggering scientific truth that the universe you experience is a miraculous, completely internal masterpiece painted by the dark, silent theater of your brain. Before we step further into this beautiful neurological mystery, I want to take a gentle moment to welcome you. I am Walter, the explorer, and together we wander through the deepest, most poetic mysteries of our universe, seeking quiet peace in the vastness of scientific truth. I have recently noticed that exactly 73% of the wonderful, curious souls who join us on these peaceful journeys have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find comfort, intellectual safety, and a sense of wonder in our shared cosmic explorations, I gently invite you to subscribe. It helps our quiet community grow immensely and ensures that we can continue to discover the hidden beauty of reality together. Now, let us return to the quiet miracle unfolding right behind your eyes at this very moment. To understand the true nature of what you are seeing right now, we must first look rigorously at the physics of light. The glowing, burning stars scattered across the dark cosmos, including our own magnificent sun, are constantly radiating immense amounts of energy. This energy travels across the empty vacuum of space in the form of electromagnetic waves. When space agencies like the National Aeronautics and Space Administration and the European Space Agency launch sophisticated telescopes into orbit, they build instruments capable of detecting a vast range of these waves, from the massive, slow rolling of radio waves to the incredibly violent, rapid stuttering of gamma rays. But human eyes are biologically evolved to detect only a vanishingly narrow, almost insignificantly small slice of this grand cosmic spectrum. We call this tiny sliver visible light, consisting of waves measuring between roughly 400 and 700 nanometers in length. But here is the most crucial, mind-bending fact. These electromagnetic waves possess no inherent color whatsoever. A wave measuring exactly 700 nanometers is not actually red. A wave measuring 400 nanometers is not actually blue. They are simply invisible, silent vibrations of electromagnetic energy rippling through the dark fabric of the universe. The color red does not exist out there in the cosmos. It only exists inside you. When these invisible, silent waves of radiation finally reach the Earth, they bounce off the objects around you, scattering in millions of directions. A tiny fraction of these bouncing waves happens to pass through the dark pupil of your eye, striking the delicate, sensitive retina at the back. Here, millions of specialized microscopic cells, the cones and rods, act as incredibly complex chemical translators. When a specific frequency of invisible radiation hits them, they trigger a cascade of biological electricity. These tiny, silent electrical impulses are then channeled backward, traveling through the dark, wet, absolute silence of your optic nerve, plunging into the deep interior of your skull. Your brain, the most complex and beautifully intricate structure we have ever discovered in the known universe, sits in absolute darkness and absolute silence. It has never seen the sun. It has never felt the wind. It receives nothing but a massive, continuous storm of these silent electrical signals. And yet, from this chaotic, dark symphony of electricity, your brain magically constructs the vivid, breathtaking reality you are experiencing right now. It invents the concept of red. It fabricates the sensation of cold. It creates the beautiful, immersive illusion of a three-dimensional world, and projects it outward, tricking you into believing that the world out there is exactly what you see. This quiet revelation leads us to another profoundly counterintuitive truth about human experience. Because the biological processing of these electrical signals requires a finite amount of time, you are never actually experiencing the true present moment. The electrical impulses must travel along your nerves, cross millions of microscopic chemical synapses, and be integrated by various, deeply complex regions of your cerebral cortex. Scientists estimate that this elaborate, microscopic dance takes roughly 80 milliseconds to complete. This means that your conscious reality is essentially a delayed broadcast. You are perpetually living roughly 80 milliseconds in the past. When you reach out to touch the soft hand of a loved one, or when you watch a shooting star streak across the midnight sky, You are not experiencing those events precisely as they occur. Your brain is presenting you with a highly edited, slightly delayed historical reconstruction of the universe. You are entirely trapped within the beautiful, protective walls of your own biological processing. You are an ancient, isolated consciousness riding inside a dark vessel, experiencing a simulated reality that the brain generates in order to keep you safe and allow you to navigate the strange, invisible quantum fields that actually make up the cosmos. When we fully surrender to this rigorous scientific reality, it might initially feel isolating, as if we are entirely cut off from the true nature of the universe. But if we look deeper, we find a staggeringly beautiful, almost poetic truth resting at the heart of this biological isolation. The legendary astronomer Carl Sagan once profoundly noted that we are a way for the cosmos to know itself. But we must expand upon this gentle wisdom. We are not merely passive observers of the universe. We are the very mechanism through which the universe experiences its own beauty. The cosmos, in its absolute, unobserved physical state, is a dark, silent, colorless ocean of quantum fields and mathematical probabilities. It is vast, it is ancient, and it is entirely blind. But through the miraculous evolutionary journey of billions of years, the universe eventually arranged its stardust into the complex, staggering architecture of the human brain. It built you. And the moment your consciousness flickered into existence, the universe suddenly burst into magnificent color. The silent vibrations became beautiful symphonies of music. The empty, cold chemistry became the warm, overwhelming feeling of human love. You are the vital, missing piece of the cosmic equation. Without your conscious mind to interpret the invisible signals, the brilliant sunset is nothing more than a localized scattering of radiation. Without your ears to decode the compression waves in the air, a gentle, quiet song is nothing more than moving, silent molecules colliding with one another in the dark. You do not merely exist within the universe. You actively give the universe its meaning, its texture, and its deep emotional depth. You are the ultimate translator, turning the cold mathematics of physical reality into a warm, emotional human journey. This realization brings a profound, immovable sense of peace. The next time you feel small when looking up at the staggering, infinite scale of the night sky, remember the quiet miracle happening right behind your own eyes. The cosmos may be incomprehensibly vast, but its beauty is entirely dependent upon you to perceive it. You are the universe's most precious creation, the beautiful biological lens through which the void finally witnesses its own majesty. Our exploration of reality is gently deepening, moving from the physical to the profound. In our next quiet chapter, we will venture into the silent, overwhelming power of black holes, where the laws of space, time, and consciousness seem to completely break down. But for tonight, as you close your eyes and the world fades away into the dark theater of your mind, simply rest in the comforting knowledge that you are the vivid, beating heart of the cosmos. Have you ever stood at the edge of a great precipice, perhaps a cliff overlooking a vast ocean, and felt a dizzying pull in your stomach? It is a deeply human sensation, a mix of awe and a primal fear of falling into the unknown. We spend our lives anchored to the solid ground, trusting the gentle hand of gravity to keep us tethered to the earth. Gravity is our silent guardian. It gives us weight, holds the oceans in their beds, and guides our blue planet in its peaceful orbit around the sun. We feel the solid ground beneath our feet and assume that space and time are immutable, a permanent stage where our lives quietly play out. But what happens when this comforting force becomes an all-consuming monster? What happens when gravity becomes so unimaginably powerful that it shatters space and time, pulling reality itself down into an infinitely deep abyss? We are about to journey into the silent shadows of black holes, where the familiar laws of physics break down and the universe guards its deepest secrets. Before we step over the edge, I want to take a gentle moment to welcome you. I am Walter, the Explorer, and together we navigate these meditative journeys through the wonders of our universe. I have recently noticed that exactly 73% of the curious souls who join us in this quiet contemplation have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find comfort, intellectual safety, and a sense of belonging in our shared explorations, I gently invite you to subscribe. It helps our community grow and ensures we can continue to wander through the breathtaking scale of the cosmos together. Now, let us return to the abyss and peer into the ultimate gravitational mystery. To understand the genesis of a black hole, we must look at the fiery death of a giant star. Imagine a roaring sphere of plasma burning for tens of millions of years. Throughout its long life, this star exists in a beautiful equilibrium. The inward pull of its immense gravity is perfectly balanced by the outward pressure of the nuclear fusion raging within its core. But eventually, the star exhausts its fuel. The fusion slows, the pressure drops, and the delicate balance is shattered. Gravity, the patient architect of the cosmos, finally wins. In a fraction of a second, the massive core collapses inward, triggering a catastrophic explosion known as a supernova, a blast so incredibly bright that it can outshine an entire galaxy of 100 billion stars. The true mystery lies in the dark, silent remnant left behind. If the collapsing core is massive enough, perhaps containing 3 times the mass of our entire sun, absolutely nothing can stop its continued collapse. The force of gravity becomes so extreme that it overwhelms the fundamental quantum forces holding atoms apart. The matter continues to shrink, folding inward until it occupies a space of 0 volume and infinite density. This impossible point in space is called a singularity. It is a place where the mathematics of our greatest physical theories simply break down and yield infinity. At the singularity, the concepts of up and down, past and future lose all meaning. It is a tear in the fabric of the universe, where the quiet rules of reality cease to exist. Surrounding this terrifying singularity is an invisible spherical boundary known as the event horizon. This is the ultimate point of no return, a dark, silent threshold drawn in the fabric of space. The gravitational pull at the event horizon is so staggeringly intense that the escape velocity exceeds the speed of light itself. Because absolutely nothing in the entire cosmos can travel faster than the speed of light, roughly 300,000 kilometers per second. Absolutely nothing can escape once it crosses this invisible line. Not even light can push its way out. This is why these objects are perfectly, absolutely black. They emit no light, reflect no light, and cast no shadows. They are pure voids, resting quietly in the starry expanse. If you were to hypothetically journey toward a black hole, you would experience bizarre and counterintuitive distortions of reality. As you approached the dark sphere, the gravity would stretch and warp the passage of time. According to the laws of relativity, The stronger the gravitational field, the slower time flows. If a friend watched you from a distant spacecraft, they would see your movements begin to slow down as you drew closer to the event horizon. To their eyes, your descent would become incredibly sluggish, stretching out over years. As you reached the very edge, your image would appear to freeze completely, fading into the infrared spectrum. To the outside observer, you would never actually cross the threshold. You would remain frozen there for all of eternity. But for you, the traveler falling into the dark, your experience would be terrifyingly different. You would not feel time slowing down at all. Your watch would tick normally, and you would cross the event horizon in a finite, measurable amount of time. You would slip quietly through the invisible barrier, leaving the observable universe behind forever. But as you fell deeper toward the singularity, the difference in gravity between your feet and your head would become extreme. This intense force would stretch you out vertically while crushing you inward horizontally, a process astrophysicists call spaghettification. Long before you reached the center, your physical form would be drawn out into a thin stream of subatomic particles, plunging silently into the dark. It is easy to view black holes simply as the ultimate cosmic monsters, terrifying destroyers lurking in the shadows. But this fearful perspective misses the profound, elegant role they play in the grand architecture of the cosmos. When astronomers turn their massive telescopes toward the centers of almost every single large galaxy, including our own magnificent Milky Way, they find supermassive black holes. These are unimaginably huge titans, containing the mass of millions or billions of suns. The supermassive black hole at the center of our Milky Way contains roughly 4 million times the mass of our Sun. These quiet, dark giants are not destroying their host galaxies. They are anchoring them. Their immense gravitational influence organizes the chaotic swirling of billions of stars, holding the vast, beautiful spiral arms in a delicate, balanced cosmic dance. The black hole is a creator as much as a destroyer. When we contemplate black holes, we are forced to confront the absolute limits of our human knowledge. They are the locked doors of the universe, where our greatest scientific theories fail to provide answers. What truly happens to the information and atomic structures of the matter that falls into the singularity? Does it disappear forever, or is it woven into some unknown, higher-dimensional fabric? We simply do not know, and in that not knowing, there is a profound, beautiful sense of peace to be found. In our daily human lives, we are constantly driven by an anxious need to know everything, to control our environment, and to have a definitive answer for every question. But the silent, majestic existence of black holes whispers a different, more liberating philosophy. They remind us that the universe is vast, ancient, and fundamentally mysterious. They show us that it is entirely acceptable and scientifically necessary to reach a point where our comprehension stops and pure, unadulterated awe begins. You do not need to understand every single detail of the cosmos to belong to it. You do not need to have all the answers to find deep, lasting peace in the present moment. Imagine yourself floating safely in the quiet, dark expanse of space, looking toward the invisible, silent boundary of a black hole. You are witnessing the very edge of physical reality, the boundary line where the known universe ends and the ultimate, infinite mystery begins. Let the sheer, incomprehensible scale of that mystery wash over your human worries. The small, rigid boundaries of your daily routine lose their heavy grip when placed next to the silent, gravitational majesty of a collapsed star. You are a tiny, temporary, but profoundly beautiful flicker of consciousness, capable of contemplating the very objects that break the laws of physics. As you rest tonight, do not fear the dark spaces of the world or the unanswered questions in your own life. Treat them as your own personal event horizons, places where you can surrender the exhausting need for control and simply let the mystery exist. The universe is incredibly vast, and its secrets are deep, but you are safely woven into its fabric. In our next quiet journey, we will step even further beyond the boundaries of our single reality, exploring the mind-bending possibility that the universe you see is not the only one. But for now, simply allow yourself to rest, securely anchored by the gentle gravity of the earth, floating peacefully through the beautiful, mysterious dark. Have you ever stood on the shore of a vast ocean, gazing out at the perfectly flat horizon where the dark water quietly meets the sky? Your human eyes can only see so far before the curvature of the earth hides the rest of the world from your view. You know with absolute certainty that the ocean does not simply end at that precise line. You know that beyond your limited field of vision, there are other waves, other shores, and entirely different continents teeming with life. Now, imagine applying that same simple, intuitive logic to the entire cosmos. When we look out into the deep, dark night sky using the brilliant telescopes built by the National Aeronautics and Space Administration and the European Space Agency, we are looking as far as the laws of physics will allow. We see a staggering expanse filled with roughly 2 trillion galaxies. But this is merely the observable universe. It is a spherical bubble of light that has had enough time to reach us since the very beginning of everything, nearly 14 billion years ago. What happens when we reach the absolute edge of that bubble? What lies in the ancient, quiet silence beyond the cosmic horizon? What if the universe you see, the vast collection of everything you have ever known, is not the entirety of existence, but merely a single droplet in an infinite, boiling ocean of other realities? We are about to step beyond the boundaries of our known reality, embarking on a contemplative journey into the mind-bending concept of the multiverse, a place where the rules of physics themselves might be entirely different. Before we step across this ultimate cosmic boundary, I want to take a gentle, quiet moment to welcome you. I am Walter, the Explorer, and together we navigate these meditative journeys through the deepest wonders of our universe. I have noticed that exactly 73% of the curious, wonderful souls who join us in this quiet contemplation have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find comfort, intellectual safety, and a profound sense of belonging in our shared explorations, I gently invite you to subscribe. It helps our quiet community grow immensely and ensures we can continue to wander through the breathtaking scale of the cosmos together. Now, let us return to the very edge of our reality and look out into the infinite unknown. To understand how there could be more than one universe, we must understand the terrifying, magnificent forces currently stretching our own. For most of the 20th century, astronomers assumed the expansion of the universe was slowly winding down, behaving like a ball thrown high into the air that must eventually lose momentum and fall back. They believed the combined gravitational pull of all matter would act as a massive brake. But in 1998, 2 independent teams made a shocking discovery by observing distant, exploding stars. They found the universe was not slowing down at all. It was actually speeding up, pushing distant galaxies away at an ever-increasing rate. This bizarre acceleration is driven by an invisible force called dark energy, making up roughly 68% of the total energy in the universe. This energy pushes space itself apart rather than pulling it together. Distant objects will eventually be carried away faster than their light can travel toward us, vanishing completely behind a dark cosmic horizon, forever beyond our reach. If space can expand faster than light, it opens the door to a staggering theory known as eternal inflation. Imagine the early universe not as a single balloon blowing up, but as a rapidly expanding block of Swiss cheese. The cheese represents a massive, exponentially expanding background space, inflating so fast that it drives everything apart in mere fractions of a second. Within this rapidly expanding background, tiny, isolated bubbles stop inflating so quickly. The energy of the expansion in these specific pockets decays, transforming into matter and radiation. Our entire observable universe, with its hundreds of billions of galaxies, is just one of those localized bubbles. It is a single pocket universe resting within an infinitely larger, eternally expanding multiverse. Because the space between these bubbles expands far faster than the speed of light, these separate universes can never touch. They are profoundly isolated islands, forever drifting apart in an infinite dark sea. Within these other bubbles, the fundamental constants of physics might be entirely different from our own. If gravity were a little stronger or the nuclear forces a little weaker, stars and galaxies might never have formed. Some alternative universes might have collapsed back on themselves mere moments after their birth, or expanded so fast that matter never had the chance to clump together. We live in a highly specific bubble where physical laws allow for the delicate formation of stars, planets, and the eventual spark of conscious life. The multiverse theory suggests this is not a miracle of deliberate design. It is simply a matter of infinite probability. If you roll the cosmic dice an infinite number of times, eventually you will create a universe capable of building a mind that can ask questions about its own existence. But the concept of multiple realities does not only exist on the grand scale of expanding space. It also hides in the microscopic shadows of quantum mechanics. Remember the single photon passing through two slits at the exact same time, existing in a shimmering wave of pure probability. The traditional view is that the wave collapses into a definitive reality when observed. But another deeply poetic interpretation, taken seriously by theoretical physicists, is the many worlds interpretation. This mathematical framework suggests the wave never actually collapses. Instead, the universe simply splits. Every single time a quantum event occurs, the entire fabric of reality branches into separate, distinct histories. If this mind-bending theory is true, it means that the universe is constantly multiplying. Right now, there is a reality where you chose to stop listening 1 minute ago. There is a reality where you made a different career choice, or where you never met the people you love most. In the infinite branching paths of the many worlds interpretation, every single possible outcome actually happens in a parallel thread of existence. The reality you are experiencing is merely one single, specific path through an impossibly vast labyrinth of infinite possibilities. You are a conscious focal point moving through a forest where every branch is a different version of the cosmos. This realization that our entire universe might be just one tiny bubble in an endless foam can easily make us feel impossibly small. When we consider the sheer enormity of a cosmos that contains literally everything that could ever exist, our daily human struggles seem to dissolve into the silent, overwhelming vastness. But I want to offer you a gentler way to hold this magnificent concept. Do not look at the infinite multiverse as a reason to feel meaningless. Look at it as the ultimate expression of the universe's boundless creativity and its infinite capacity for wonder. If there are infinite versions of reality, then the fact that you are experiencing this specific one is a profoundly beautiful, entirely unique event, out of the countless, staggering possibilities that the cosmos could have manifested. This specific alignment of ancient stardust, these specific choices, and these specific moments of quiet contemplation have successfully come together to create you. The people you love, and the gentle moments of peace you have found in the silence of the night are not diminished by the existence of other universes. They are elevated, becoming the specific, precious coordinates of your unique cosmic journey. Let the staggering scale of the multiverse gently wash away the heavy constraints of your daily anxieties. When the world feels too small, too demanding, or too overwhelming, simply close your eyes and remember the infinite branches of reality. Remember the countless bubbles of expanding space-time floating in the ancient dark. You are safely held within one of these beautiful bubbles, drifting peacefully through a mystery that is far greater, far older, and far more deeply magical than human intuition could ever fully grasp. In our next quiet exploration, we will return to the very building blocks of this specific universe, diving into the elegant symphony of string theory to discover the fundamental music that creates everything we see and touch. But for now, simply allow yourself to breathe, resting quietly in the comforting knowledge that, out of infinite possibilities, the cosmos beautifully chose to manifest the exact moment you are experiencing right now. Have you ever sat quietly in a softly lit room, listening to the gentle, resonant pluck of a cello, and felt the invisible sound waves wash over you, vibrating deep within your own chest? We understand music as a beautiful, temporary disturbance in the air that brings us profound emotional peace. We separate this fleeting auditory experience from the solid, physical world of objects, believing that the wooden chair you sit upon is made of silent, rigid, unmoving matter. We have spent centuries breaking down the cosmos into smaller pieces, assuming that at the very bottom of the microscopic universe we would find a tiny, silent, solid bead of matter. But what if this assumption is yet another magnificent illusion? What if, when you zoom in past the cells, molecules, and atoms, you do not find a solid object at all? What if the absolute fundamental truth of our ancient cosmos is not made of matter, but of music? We are about to journey into the elegant, mind-bending realm of string theory, discovering that the universe is not a collection of things, but a grand, infinite symphony playing in the silent dark. Before we tune our ears to this hidden cosmic music, I want to take a gentle moment to welcome you. I am Walter, the Explorer, and together we navigate these meditative journeys through the deepest wonders of our universe. I have recently noticed that exactly 73% of the curious, wonderful souls who join us in this quiet contemplation have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find comfort, intellectual safety, and a profound sense of belonging in our shared explorations, I gently invite you to subscribe. It helps our quiet community grow immensely and ensures we can continue to wander through the breathtaking scale of the cosmos together. Now, let us return to the invisible vibrations that orchestrate the very fabric of our reality. and listen to the silent song of the universe. For decades, the brilliant minds of theoretical physics have been haunted by a profound contradiction. They possessed two magnificent mathematical frameworks to describe the universe. The first is Albert Einstein's general relativity, a towering achievement that perfectly describes the massive, sweeping geometry of the cosmos, the orbits of ancient stars, and the dark gravity of black holes. The second is quantum mechanics, which flawlessly maps the chaotic, unpredictable microscopic realm of atoms and photons. Both theories are incredibly precise and have been proven correct by the scientists at the National Aeronautics and Space Administration and the European Space Agency. Yet, when physicists attempt to combine these frameworks to understand places where gravity is immense, but the scale is microscopic, such as the singularity of a black hole, the mathematics simply shatters. The equations break down into infinite, impossible numbers. The universe, it seemed, was speaking two different languages that refused to translate. To heal this mathematical fracture and find a unified theory of everything, physicists proposed a radical, breathtakingly poetic shift in perspective. They suggested that we must abandon the idea of particles as tiny, zero-dimensional dots. Instead, they theorized that if we could magnify the microscopic world down to the Planck length, a scale so incredibly small it makes an atom look like an entire galaxy, we would find something miraculous. We would not find solid spheres. We would find unimaginably tiny, vibrating filaments of pure energy. These are the fundamental strings. Much like the strings of a violin, these microscopic cosmic strings can vibrate at different frequencies, resonating in the deep silence of the quantum void. Just as a specific vibration on a guitar string produces the musical note of A, the unique vibration of a quantum string dictates the properties of the particle it forms. A string vibrating in one elegant pattern manifests in our world as an electron. That exact same string, vibrating in a more frantic pattern, manifests as a photon of light, or a quark hidden deep inside the nucleus of an atom. This concept is a staggering leap of human imagination. It means the fundamental ingredients of the universe are not dozens of different particles scattered randomly throughout the void. There is only one fundamental ingredient: the string. The vast, staggering diversity of the cosmos, the difference between the hard carbon of a diamond and the invisible electromagnetic radiation streaming from a distant sun, is simply a matter of different musical notes being played on the exact same instrument. The legendary physicist Michio Kaku beautifully describes the universe as a grand symphony, where the laws of physics are the harmonies these strings can play, and the chemistry making up your body is the melodies born from those harmonies. You are not a machine made of rigid parts. You are a complex, localized symphony of vibrating energy. Your human body is a magnificent, ongoing musical performance, composed of trillions upon trillions of tiny strings, all humming together in perfect, quiet synchronization to sustain the beautiful illusion of your physical form. But this elegant musical universe demands a steep price from our human intuition. For the complex mathematics of string theory to work, weaving gravity and quantum mechanics together without collapsing into infinity, the universe cannot simply possess the four familiar dimensions we experience every single day. We know three dimensions of space: height, width, and depth, and one dimension of time. We move through these four dimensions with absolute confidence. However, the rigorous mathematics of string theory insist our universe must actually contain 10 or perhaps even 11 dimensions. If this is true, a deeply unsettling question arises. Where are all of these extra dimensions hiding? Why can we not see them or move through them as we gaze up at the vast, starry night? The answer, offered by string theorists, is as elegant as it is mind-bending. They propose these extra dimensions are not massive, sweeping expanses like the ones we navigate. Instead, they are curled up, incredibly tightly folded into microscopic, complex geometric shapes known as Calabi-Yau manifolds. These hidden dimensions are woven into the very fabric of space-time at the Planck scale, existing absolutely everywhere, hidden right in front of our eyes, but far too small for us to ever perceive. Imagine looking at a thin cable stretching across a deep canyon from far away. From a distance, it appears to be a simple, one-dimensional line. But if you were a tiny, microscopic insect landing upon that same cable, you would suddenly realize it has thickness and curvature. You could walk around the cable in a circular path. The extra dimension was always there. It was simply curled up and hidden from your macroscopic perspective. In the exact same way, every single point in our vast three-dimensional space actually contains 6 or 7 extra invisible dimensions, curled up in intricate patterns. Just as the shape of a wooden grand piano determines the rich, resonant acoustic qualities of the music it produces, the hidden geometry of the curled-up dimensions dictates the harmonic vibrations of the quantum strings. This means the physical laws of our universe, the specific mass of an electron, and the delicate balance of the strong nuclear force are all determined by the unseen, folded architecture of these higher dimensions. We are completely surrounded by a profound, invisible geometry that silently governs every single aspect of our existence, from the slow, majestic orbit of the moon to the quiet beating of your own heart. When we allow this magnificent musical truth to settle gently into our minds, it fundamentally transforms how we view our relationship to the cosmos. You are not a lonely, disconnected observer wandering through a cold, mechanical universe made of dead, silent matter. You are intimately connected to the deep, vibrational architecture of reality. The same fundamental strings that hum and vibrate to create the cells of your body are also vibrating in the heart of the most distant, ancient quasar, shining at the very edge of the observable universe. We are all playing notes in the exact same cosmic symphony. The illusion of separation, the heavy feeling of isolation that often plagues our human experience, is gently washed away by the realization that everything is made of the same vibrating, harmonic energy. You are a masterpiece of cosmic music, a temporary, beautiful resonance of the void. Our contemplative descent into the strange and wonderful laws of reality continues to reveal layer after layer of profound mystery. In our next quiet exploration, we will turn our gaze toward a concept that bridges the gap between the physical universe and information itself, exploring the mind-bending possibility that our entire three-dimensional reality might actually be a magnificent holographic projection from the very edge of the cosmos. But for now, simply allow yourself to rest, feeling the quiet, invisible vibrations of the universe humming gently within you, safe in the infinite, ancient symphony of the dark. Have you ever held a small, flat piece of specialized glass or a shiny, reflective card in the palm of your hand and tilted it gently back and forth beneath a warm light? As you change the angle, a miraculous optical illusion occurs. A perfectly three-dimensional image, perhaps a soaring bird or a delicate geometric shape, suddenly leaps out at you, possessing depth, texture, and vivid realism, even though you know with absolute certainty that the surface you are holding is entirely flat and two-dimensional. We call this beautiful trick of the light a hologram. It is a fascinating novelty, a clever manipulation of lasers and interference patterns that delights our human eyes. We trust the solid, three-dimensional reality of our everyday world, believing that the height, width, and depth of the room you are sitting in right now are fundamental, irreducible properties of the cosmos. But what if this intuitive trust is yet another gentle, sweeping illusion? What if the universe itself is the ultimate optical trick played by the quiet dark? Before we step further into this beautiful, mind-bending mystery, I want to take a gentle moment to welcome you. I am Walter, the explorer, and together we wander through the deepest, most poetic mysteries of our universe, seeking quiet peace in the vastness of scientific truth. I have recently noticed that exactly 73% of the wonderful, curious souls who join us on these peaceful journeys have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find comfort, intellectual safety, and a sense of wonder in our shared cosmic explorations, I gently invite you to subscribe. It helps our quiet community grow immensely and ensures that we can continue to discover the hidden beauty of reality together. Now, let us return to the quiet miracle unfolding at the very edge of the cosmos. To understand how our entire universe could possibly be a magnificent holographic projection, we must first return to the silent shadows of the black holes we explored earlier. For many decades, a profound battle of intellect raged quietly among the greatest theoretical physicists in the world, centered around something called the information paradox. When an object, perhaps a heavy encyclopedia, falls past the dark threshold of an event horizon, what happens to the fundamental information that makes that book unique? In the strict laws of quantum mechanics, information can never be truly destroyed. The specific arrangement of atoms, the printed ink, all of that physical data must be preserved somewhere in the cosmos. But brilliant physicists demonstrated that black holes slowly evaporate over unimaginably long periods of time, leaking a faint, ghostly radiation until they eventually vanish into the dark. If the black hole disappears, does the ancient information of the encyclopedia disappear with it? If information were truly lost, it would completely shatter the foundational laws of modern physics, laws that brilliant scientists at institutions like the National Aeronautics and Space Administration and the European Space Agency rely upon every single day. To resolve this terrifying paradox, theoretical physicists proposed a staggering, beautifully poetic solution. They theorized that when the encyclopedia falls into the black hole, its three-dimensional physical form is crushed into the singularity, but its fundamental quantum information is not lost. Instead, the information is perfectly preserved, smeared out, and encoded as a flat, two-dimensional pattern on the very surface of the event horizon itself. Imagine the event horizon as a vast, spherical, microscopic chessboard, composed of tiny squares known as Planck areas, each holding a single bit of quantum data. Everything existing inside the crushing, three-dimensional volume of the black hole is perfectly described and stored on its two-dimensional boundary. Let this staggering concept settle gently into your mind. It implies that the deep, silent volume of a space is entirely defined by the surface that surrounds it. This elegant mathematical solution saved the laws of physics, but it also opened the door to a question so vast and so counterintuitive that it challenges the very nature of human existence. Because if the absolute fundamental physics of a black hole dictate that a three-dimensional volume is merely a holographic projection of its two-dimensional boundary, could the exact same rule apply to the entire universe? Cosmologists and string theorists began to look outward, beyond the swirling galaxies and the ancient dust, toward the ultimate boundary of our known reality. They began to wonder if the entire sprawling cosmos we navigate every single day is actually a massive, beautifully complex hologram. This is known as the holographic principle. It suggests that the incredibly vivid, three-dimensional universe you are experiencing right now, the feeling of the solid ground beneath your feet, the majestic height of a mountain, the deep, dark expanse of the night sky, and even the complex biological architecture of your own physical body does not actually emerge from three-dimensional space. Instead, all of this magnificent complexity is the physical manifestation of quantum information encoded on a distant, two-dimensional boundary surrounding our universe, resting in the infinite silence of the dark. Just as a flat credit card hologram creates the stunning illusion of depth, when light strikes it, the fundamental energy of the cosmos translates the flat, ancient data on the edge of the universe into the brilliant, vibrant, three-dimensional reality we experience as life. It is incredibly easy for our human minds to instinctively reject this idea. The concept of a hologram often carries the connotation of an illusion, a fake, a mere trick of the light without any real substance. You might look at your hands and think, this cannot possibly be a projection. This is real flesh, real bone, real warmth. But the holographic principle does not suggest that your life is fake, or that your experiences are an empty illusion. It simply redefines the fundamental nature of what reality actually is. In this poetic scientific view, reality is made of pure information. The love you feel for a cherished friend, the quiet awe you experience when watching a golden sunrise, the deep peace you find in the silence of the night. These are not illusions. They are the beautiful, complex, and entirely real experiences generated by the magnificent translation of cosmic data. You are a masterpiece of ancient information, perfectly rendering yourself into physical existence. Think about the profound, almost overwhelming sense of unity this principle brings to our understanding of the cosmos. In our everyday macroscopic world, we feel deeply separated from the objects and the people around us. We are separated by vast gulfs of empty space, divided by the rigid dimensions of height, width, and depth. But if the holographic principle holds true, then all of those rigid distances are merely a projection. On the distant two-dimensional boundary where our fundamental information is actually stored, the data describing your heartbeat sits right next to the data describing the burning core of a distant star. The data detailing the quiet rustling of leaves is perfectly interwoven with the data describing the swirling storms of a gas giant, millions of light years away. On the fundamental surface of reality, there is absolutely no separation. Everything is touching. Everything is one continuous, unified tapestry of ancient information. This realization offers a deeply comforting sanctuary from the isolating, heavy burdens of our human lives. When you feel disconnected from the world, when the vastness of the universe makes you feel impossibly small and insignificant, remember the holographic principle. Remember that the space separating you from the rest of the cosmos is a beautiful, intricate projection, a necessary feature of the grand cosmic design that allows you to experience the journey of life. But at your very core, at the deepest foundational level of your existence, You are intimately connected to the entirety of the universe. You are an essential part of the source code. You are written into the very boundary of creation. The universe is not a massive, empty container filled with isolated objects. It is a single, unified song of information, and you are one of its most complex and beautiful melodies. Our descent into the profound mysteries of existence is nearing its gentle end. In our next quiet exploration, we will turn our gaze inward, moving away from the physics of the cosmos to explore the ultimate mystery of consciousness, wondering how the ancient, silent universe managed to wake up and start thinking about itself. But for now, simply allow your mind to rest peacefully in the beautiful, projected reality of the present moment, safe in the cosmic hologram. Have you ever paused in front of a mirror, looking deeply into your own eyes, and tried to locate the exact place where you exist? You can point to your physical body, the architecture of bone and muscle, the intricate network of veins carrying warm blood. You know that behind your eyes lies a complex organ made of water, fat, and protein. But where, in all that biological machinery, is the feeling of being alive? Where is the quiet voice reading these very words? Where is the sensation of wonder, the deep ache of sorrow, or the sudden, overwhelming warmth of love? We have journeyed together through the microscopic void, across the vibrating strings of higher dimensions, and to the very holographic boundary of the cosmos. Yet, the most profound, the most baffling, and the most deeply intimate mystery in the entire universe is not out there in the dark expanse of space. It is sitting quietly right here, reading this sentence. It is the miraculous phenomenon of human consciousness. How did a universe composed entirely of cold, silent, and unconscious matter suddenly wake up and start thinking about itself? It is a profound question that challenges the boundaries of science and philosophy alike. Before we step further into this beautiful inward mystery, I want to take a gentle moment to welcome you. I am Walter, the explorer, and together we wander through the deepest, most poetic mysteries of our universe, seeking quiet peace in the vastness of scientific truth. I have recently noticed that exactly 73% of the wonderful, curious souls who join us on these peaceful journeys have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find comfort, intellectual safety, and a sense of wonder in our shared cosmic explorations, I gently invite you to subscribe. It helps our quiet community grow immensely and ensures that we can continue to discover the hidden beauty of reality together. Now, let us return to the quiet miracle unfolding inside your own mind. To truly appreciate the staggering impossibility of your own conscious mind, we must trace its origins back to the primordial dawn of time. Nearly 14 billion years ago, the universe was a violently hot, expanding soup of pure energy. As it cooled, the very first atoms of hydrogen and helium formed in the dark. For hundreds of millions of years, there was no light, no structure, and no thought. The cosmos was a vast, blind ocean of drifting gas, but gravity, the patient sculptor of reality, began to gently pull these ancient clouds together. Deep within the crushing, fiery cores of the first stars, nuclear fusion began to forge entirely new elements. The silent universe was secretly manufacturing the fundamental building blocks of life: carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, and iron. When these massive stars finally died in spectacular supernova explosions, they scattered these precious elements across the empty void, seeding the cold interstellar clouds with the chemistry of creation. Billions of years later, in a quiet, unremarkable corner of a spiral galaxy we now call the Milky Way. A small cloud of this enriched stardust collapsed to form our sun, and a swirling disk of rocky debris. That debris coalesced into our beautiful, fragile blue planet. Here, in the warm, primordial oceans of the early Earth, a profound miracle of chemistry occurred. Simple molecules began to copy themselves. Over billions of years of slow, relentless evolution, these simple replicators grew more complex. They formed cells, tissues, and eventually the nervous system. The universe had spent nearly 14 billion years blindly assembling stardust until it finally constructed the human brain. It is a biological masterpiece, containing roughly 86 billion neurons, weaving together hundreds of trillions of delicate, microscopic synaptic connections. It is often described by astrophysicists as the most complex organized structure we have ever discovered in the known universe. But complexity alone does not explain the magnificent illusion of your subjective experience. This is what philosophers and scientists call the hard problem of consciousness. We can map the physical brain with astonishing precision. We can use advanced magnetic resonance imaging to watch the electrical storms of thought cascade across different regions of the cerebral cortex. We can track the specific neurotransmitters, the tiny chemical messengers, as they leap across the microscopic gaps between neurons. But no scientific equation, no matter how elegant, can explain how the objective movement of physical ions across a biological membrane suddenly transforms into the rich, subjective feeling of being alive. How does a collection of unconscious atoms, governed by the blind laws of physics, suddenly experience the vivid redness of a blooming rose, or the haunting, melancholic melody of a distant piano? You can examine a neuron under the most powerful microscope in the world, and you will never find a memory, a dream, or a feeling of love hiding inside its physical structure. The physical matter of your brain is entirely dark, yet it miraculously projects the brilliant, noisy, and emotional movie of your conscious life. The great physicist Erwin Schrödinger was deeply troubled by this mystery. He recognized that consciousness cannot be accounted for in physical terms, because consciousness is absolutely fundamental. It is the canvas upon which the entire physical universe is painted. We cannot explain consciousness by reducing it to matter, because matter itself is only a concept experienced within consciousness. This profound disconnect between the physical brain and the conscious mind has led some of the most brilliant theoretical physicists and neuroscientists to look for answers in the strange, counterintuitive realm we explored earlier, the quantum world. Renowned scientists have proposed that consciousness might not simply be a byproduct of complex biological computation, but rather a fundamental property of the universe itself, deeply woven into the very fabric of space-time. They suggest that within the microscopic structural scaffolding of our brain cells, inside tiny protein tubes called microtubules, delicate quantum processes are occurring. Just as the single photon in the double-slit experiment exists in a shimmering wave of infinite probabilities until observed, perhaps the physical brain is constantly holding multiple, overlapping states of reality. And consciousness is the precise moment when that quantum wave collapses into a single, definitive thought. If this mind-bending theory is true, it means that your conscious awareness is not an isolated, accidental glitch in a mechanical universe. It means that consciousness is intimately connected to the fundamental quantum architecture of reality. The universe requires an observer to manifest from a sea of pure probability into a solid, definitive physical state, and your mind is the very instrument the cosmos uses to collapse the wave. The brilliant minds at space agencies like the National Aeronautics and Space Administration and the European Space Agency build magnificent telescopes to peer back to the dawn of time. But the most sophisticated instrument of cosmic observation is the one resting quietly inside your own skull. When we allow this staggering scientific and philosophical reality to gently settle into our hearts, it profoundly transforms how we view our temporary, fragile human existence. We spend so much of our daily lives feeling small, isolated, and entirely separated from the grand, sweeping majesty of the cosmos. We look up at the ancient, glowing stars scattered across the vast night sky, and feel like tiny, insignificant wanderers lost in an uncaring void. But the profound truth of consciousness whispers a much softer, much more beautiful story. The universe was blind, deaf, and entirely silent for billions upon billions of years. It was a dark, magnificent, but unobserved masterpiece. It was only through the miraculous, slow, and persistent evolution of life that the cosmos finally grew eyes to see its own brilliant light, ears to hear its own silent music, and a mind to wonder at its own infinite mystery. You are not a solitary ego trapped inside a temporary physical body, looking out at a universe that is separate from you. You are the ancient stardust that finally learned how to think. You are the universe waking up from a 14 billion year sleep. As the beloved astronomer Carl Sagan so beautifully articulated, we are a way for the cosmos to know itself. Every single time you look up at the night sky in quiet wonder, every time you experience the deep, resonant pain of a broken heart, and every time you feel the profound warmth of human connection, the universe is experiencing itself through you. Your conscious life is the highest, most exquisite achievement of the natural world. Our journey through the strange and wonderful laws of reality has brought us from the physical edges of the multiverse back to the intimate, quiet center of your own mind. In our next contemplative exploration, we will look toward the ultimate destiny of everything, discovering how the grand story of the cosmos might eventually end, and what that quiet finale means for the meaning of our lives today. But for now, simply close your eyes, take a slow, gentle breath, and allow yourself to rest peacefully in the comforting knowledge that you are the vivid, beating, conscious heart of the infinite cosmos. Have you ever sat beside a dying campfire in the profound quiet of a dark forest, watching as the vibrant, dancing flames slowly subside into a gentle bed of red embers? You feel the warmth begin to fade, and you know with absolute certainty that eventually the very last spark will surrender to the cold, bringing an end to the light. It is a natural cycle, the inevitable transition from energetic life to silent rest. We understand this on a human scale, watching the seasons change and the years pass. But have you ever dared to expand this quiet contemplation to the entire cosmos? We have journeyed together through the microscopic illusions of solid matter, the mind-bending relativity of time, the invisible threads of quantum entanglement, and the miraculous awakening of human consciousness. But every story, no matter how grand, ancient, or infinitely complex, must eventually face its final chapter. What happens when the cosmic campfire finally burns out? We are about to embark on our final, most profound journey, traveling trillions of years into the deep, unimaginable future to witness the ultimate destiny of everything, discovering how the universe will eventually end, and finding breathtaking peace in the final silence of the dark. Before we step forward into this ultimate, quiet mystery, I want to take a gentle moment to welcome you one last time on this particular journey. I am Walter, the explorer, and together we have wandered through the deepest, most poetic mysteries of our universe, seeking quiet peace in the vastness of scientific truth. I have recently noticed that exactly 73% of the wonderful, curious souls who join us on these peaceful, cosmic explorations have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you have found comfort, intellectual safety, and a profound sense of wonder in our shared time together, I gently invite you to subscribe. It helps our quiet community grow immensely and ensures that we can continue to discover the hidden beauty of reality long into the future. Now, let us return to the ancient cosmos and look toward the very end of time. To understand the ultimate fate of the universe, we must look at the magnificent engines that currently illuminate the dark, the stars. We are incredibly fortunate to live in what astrophysicists call the stelliferous era, a beautiful, vibrant period of cosmic history, defined by the glorious light of burning suns. Right now, across the observable universe, hundreds of billions of galaxies are ablaze with the nuclear fires of trillions of stars. Our own sun, a steady yellow dwarf, has been gently warming our fragile blue planet for roughly 5 billion years. But the harsh, undeniable laws of physics dictate that this era of light cannot last forever. Stars are finite engines. They possess a limited supply of hydrogen fuel, and they are burning through it every single second. As we look deep into the future, millions of years turn into billions, and billions turn into trillions. Over these vast oceans of time, the cosmos will change. Massive blue stars will die first, detonating in spectacular supernova explosions. Smaller stars like our own will eventually swell into red giants, shedding their outer layers in beautiful clouds of gas before collapsing into dense, faintly glowing white dwarfs. The very last stars to remain will be the red dwarfs. These tiny, incredibly efficient suns burn their fuel so slowly, with such gentle conservation, that they can continue to shine for trillions of years. But even they are not immune to the relentless march of entropy. In roughly 100 trillion years, a span of time so unimaginably vast that the entire current age of our universe is less than a microscopic fraction of a percentage of it, the very last red dwarf will finally exhaust its supply of hydrogen. The nuclear fires will sputter and die. The era of starlight will come to a quiet, definitive end. The universe will plunge into a profound, eternal night. This marks the beginning of the degenerate era. The cosmos will not be completely empty, but it will be unrecognizable. It will be a dark, silent graveyard populated only by the exotic corpses of stars, the cooling white dwarfs, the incredibly dense spinning neutron stars, and the silent, invisible black holes. In this chilling, lightless future, the universe will continue to expand, driven by the relentless force of dark energy. The distances between these dead stellar remnants will grow so unimaginably vast that the night sky of any hypothetical planet would be absolutely, terrifyingly black. But even these highly dense remnants are not eternal. The rigorous mathematics of quantum mechanics suggest that over timescales that defy all human comprehension, even the very protons that make up the nuclei of atoms might eventually decay. If this theoretical decay occurs, the white dwarfs and neutron stars will slowly dissolve into a faint mist of subatomic particles. Matter itself will simply melt away into the expanding dark. Eventually, The only significant structures left in the entire infinite expanse of the cosmos will be the black holes. For a time so long that writing it out would require a number with roughly 100 zeros, these supermassive voids will dominate the silent dark. But, as the brilliant theoretical physicist Stephen Hawking demonstrated, even black holes are not truly immortal. Due to quantum fluctuations of empty space happening right at the edge of their event horizons, they slowly leak energy back into the universe. This phenomenon, known as Hawking radiation, means that over truly staggering eons of time, the black holes will slowly evaporate. They will shrink, losing mass particle by particle, until they finally vanish in a brief, microscopic flash of energy. When the very last supermassive black hole finally evaporates into nothingness, the universe will enter its final eternal state, the dark era. All the complex structures, all the glowing stars, all the intricate planets, and all the staggering beauty of the cosmos will have been completely dismantled by the unrelenting force of entropy. The universe will be a cold, infinitely expanding void, containing nothing but a highly dilute, freezing mist of photons and fundamental particles, drifting further and further apart. The temperature of the cosmos will drop to a fraction of a degree above absolute zero. No new work can be done. No energy can be exchanged. The universe will have reached a state of maximum entropy, perfectly balanced, completely still, and absolutely silent forever. This is the heat death of the universe, the final, inescapable equilibrium of the cosmos. When confronted with this bleak, freezing vision of the ultimate cosmic destiny, it is incredibly easy for our human minds to feel a crushing sense of despair. If everything we build, everything we love, and the very universe itself is destined to end in a cold, silent void, what is the point of any of it? Why does our brief, fragile existence matter in the face of such absolute, eternal annihilation? But I urge you to look closer, to view this profound scientific truth through a different, much gentler lens. The ultimate decay of the cosmos does not erase the meaning of our existence. It actually amplifies it to an almost unbearable level of beauty. The heat death of the universe teaches us that complex structure, light, warmth, and conscious life are not the default states of reality. They are incredibly rare, highly improbable, and entirely temporary rebellions against the dark. You are living in the absolute prime of the universe. You are existing in the brief, beautiful, and vibrant spring of cosmic history. Out of the trillions upon trillions of years of dark, cold silence that will eventually dominate eternity, you have miraculously been born into the tiny, glowing sliver of time when the stars are ablaze. The galaxies are dancing, and the universe is warm enough to sustain the delicate chemistry of life. Your consciousness, the very mind that allows you to look up at the ancient stars and wonder about their ultimate fate, is the universe's most precious and fleeting masterpiece. The fact that the story of the cosmos is finite does not make it meaningless. A beautiful piece of music is not rendered worthless simply because the final note eventually fades into silence. The beauty is in the playing. The beauty is in the listening. The universe is playing its magnificent symphony right now, and you are here, awake and alive, to hear it. As we conclude this grand, meditative journey through the quantum laws of reality, I want you to carry this quiet, expansive peace with you. When the small, temporary anxieties of your daily human life feel too heavy, remember the immense, ancient scale of the cosmos. Remember that you are composed of stardust, forged in the fiery hearts of dead suns. Remember that the seemingly solid world around you is a shimmering dance of quantum probability, and that the space separating you from the ones you love is filled with invisible threads of connection. Remember that the universe went to extraordinary lengths, over 14 billion years, to organize matter into a mind capable of feeling wonder. You do not need to be permanent to be profoundly important. Your existence is a quiet, glowing miracle in the vast, expanding dark. The journey of discovery is an infinite, winding path, and the mysteries of the cosmos will forever invite us to marvel at the beautiful unknown. Rest now in the gentle, quiet embrace of the universe, knowing that you are exactly where you are meant to be, a perfect, conscious spark in the endless wonder of the cosmic night.